Well, hello there and welcome everybody to the Hybrid Ministry Show. As always, I am your host, Nick Clayson. So excited to be with you. And if you did not hear the trailer that we dropped earlier this week, we are going to be diving into a full-fledged social media strategy. And this is part one of the 6-part series of putting an entire social media framework and strategy in place for your church, for your ministry, and for the people that you are attempting to reach. This is aimed at churches and pastors, but can probably be used and adapted for other places in the marketplace and whatnot. And so on today's very first episode, we are going to be launching and starting with the platform of YouTube. Yes, we most recently dropped a episode called Don't Sleep on YouTube. We'll link to that in the show notes, but we are going to be specifically looking at the strategy, the social media strategy, and we are starting with YouTube. And you'll see why here in just a minute. But before we dive in, do not forget, a rating or review would be amazing. You can head over to our YouTube channel and see this live with some lower thirds and some graphics woven in to maybe help support some of the arguments that we're making. So if you find that helpful or interesting, make sure that you head there. Also, as always, you can head to hybridministry.xyz, both for our ebook, Have I Already Ruined My Church TikTok Account, which is a complete guide to posting a TikTok from start to finish. If you have no idea what you're doing, you're just getting started, this ebook is for you. And if you are a TikTok veteran, it's probably still for you, because honestly, I learned some things as I made it. And then the other thing is that, as always, we provide free, 100% free transcript, show notes to every single episode, so you can head to hybridministry.xyz. .xyz, yes, it is a suffix to a website, despite what people might think. It's just, I actually think it's a creative one, an interesting one. It's very, very unknown. So if a .com is taken, I often opt for .xyz because I just think it's cool. So anyway, head to those places, and without any further ado, let's dive in. Little break, let me get some coffee. Let's dive into why we should start with YouTube. Here we go. All right, so why should we start with YouTube? I believe if done optimally, your church social media strategy, to borrow from marketing, if you will, I'm going to attempt to create this with my hands, so if you're watching on YouTube stream, it's going to make sense to you, but it's like a funnel, right? And so especially now in the days of the algorithms where it's discovery focused as opposed to just following your friends like it used to be, you are going to want to catch people at the top of your funnel. And the top of the funnel is very wide now because of YouTube Shorts, because of Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and because of TikTok. You can reach and catch people that you would have never otherwise interacted with. Maybe they're people that are local to you geographically, maybe not. But the reality is that you're going to be finding people in the top of that funnel that you never would have had that relationship with before. That's amazing. So that's what churches have been looking for and asking for with social media for years. How can we expand our reach? How can we share the gospel of Jesus? How can we find different people that we might want to minister to or share the truth or love of Jesus with them? However, what are you going to do with them once you get them? I think for me, a lot of the question, I was even asking Matt, who was former co-host of this podcast, I was even asking him early on, like, okay, great, that's awesome. So we go viral on TikTok, then what? And he didn't even know. So that's how new all of this is. It all lives within the life of this podcast, which is under a year old by the time of this posting. And so once we start catching people who are finding awareness, we need to drive them to something. What are we driving them to? I think, and I would propose that the best thing to drive someone to, especially if they're just finding you on social media, is to drive them to listening to longer form pieces of content. There was we talked about it in the YouTube trends, the YouTube trends not trends report, the YouTube trends podcast that I dropped a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to look it up right here live time, so that's why I'm fumbling around. Let's see if I can find it. I'm probably not going to be able to find it. But there's a stat that says some percentage, that's the stat I'm looking for. I don't know the number, but some percentage of people look up or use like short form videos in order to find longer form video content or longer form content of some sort. So especially the generation that's coming, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they might spend time on TikTok, they might spend time on YouTube Shorts, see a short snippet of something, and then that might prompt them to go watch something longer. Now, here's the thing. No offense, sermons are not that new and not that interesting, and so therefore, that may not be the most captivating thing that someone's going to want to be driven towards. But if they find their way to something creative, something different, or just your pastor's interesting, or the topic that your pastor preached on is interesting, then yeah, I think you are going to get people to drive towards it. So that's why I say start with YouTube. Now, when I wrote this, I had a very different view of YouTube. We hadn't even started. When I wrote this, for a youth ministry company. And so when I wrote it, I had not even started practically using YouTube in my ministry yet. And what's crazy is even if you listen back to last week's episode on Don't Sleep on YouTube, I said we now have over 70 subscribers to our YouTube. Since the time of that posting, or recording from then to now, which is only a week gap in time, we have grown our YouTube to up to 106 subscribers. So we've had 36 or so subscribers join us on YouTube, which is just bonkers crazy. So why start with YouTube? Obviously, YouTube is owned by Google, so it has a search engine component to it. In addition to that, it's got long-form video content and now short-form video content. So you can use the short form to get discovered and gain subscribers to then support and supplement and push to your long-form video content. I'm going to recommend that all the other platforms also point to YouTube just as a place where your videos and your containers live. And so that is what I think is optimal. Opening the top of the funnel, driving them another step deeper. Obviously, the lowest part of the funnel is them making a decision to follow Jesus, maybe becoming a fully devoted follower of Jesus, integrated into the life of your church and attending regularly in person. But going from watching a 60-second clip to a several-minute video, that's a big jump. That's a big step. Let's chat through the elements and purposes and reasons why we should start with YouTube and what we know about it today in 2023. Let's go. All right, so let's talk about watch times. We've talked about this a fair bit on this podcast and other episodes and whatnot, but according to backlinko.com, they surveyed 1.3 million YouTube videos to try and better understand the YouTube search feature, and they determined this fact from their survey. Longer videos significantly outperform shorter videos. Now we're talking long form, widescreen, like typical YouTube videos, not YouTube Shorts. It's a completely different section and platform. But longer videos significantly outperform shorter videos. The average length of a first page YouTube video that is indexed on the first page is 14 minutes and 50 seconds. So you're looking in that sweet spot of, I would say, anywhere from 12 minutes to 18 minutes is a good length that you want to be shooting for your YouTube videos. Now, the question that you might have is like, well, what if I live stream my sermon and my pastor preaches for 35 minutes? Well, that's great, and you can continue to use that, and you should continue to put that up on YouTube if you have the live streaming capabilities and whatnot. However, in some contexts, if you're starting from scratch, one of the things that I have been pushing and recommending, and one of the things that we have been doing over at our church, Cross Creek Students, which, by the way, if you want, I'll drop a link to our YouTube channel in the show notes. You can see what I'm talking about when I recommend pre-filming your content. So you don't need a lot. I mean, we use a cell phone, which is the same cell phone I'm using to shoot this YouTube video here. So you can check that out on our YouTube channel. We use that to shoot. I grabbed a couple of like external microphones just so that the audio quality is above average. And that is it. You know, some basic lighting stuff, but nothing crazy. And that gives us a multiple different like things to do. Like when we preach live, we're probably preaching that 30+ minute thing, or at least bumping up right against it, which is not optimal for the YouTube search length. The other thing is that it does give us extra time with our content. If we deliver it once to a phone and then once live in the room, like by the time we're live in the room, like we're pretty well versed with what our content is going to be. It's not going to be a shock to us. We're not going to get up there and be like, what is this again? Especially if you're using curriculum, pre-canned curriculum, you can fall under the habit of not really reviewing it very well, and you get up there and you're much more stuck to your notes than you maybe want to be, or you wrote it a long time ago and you're dusting it off for a new environment. Maybe that's exactly what I'm doing all the time. So once YouTube kind of came up with that conclusion, that's how YouTube chooses what videos get promoted. All right. So the way that they do it is a combination of both overall watch time paired with average percent viewed. So if it's a 10-minute video and they watch 7 minutes, that's 70% of the video viewed. So it turns out that the videos in that 14 to 16 minute range really index well. A couple other factors to help make your videos compelling. Let's check it out. All right, so make the intro of your video compelling. Let's play out a couple scenarios. Scenario number 1. Hey everyone, welcome back to church. Excited to be here. Hey, real quick, before we dive into tonight's message, I do want to remind you about the church-wide bake sale. It's coming up this Sunday. If you are interested in earning money toward the mission trip, don't forget you have to be in attendance. If for some reason you can't make it, please make sure to talk to dear Aunt Betty in the back. She's waving her hand. She's got her plaid apron on. Let her know that you won't be at the bake sale. So, to dive into tonight's message, we're going to be in John chapter 1, or scenario number 2. What would you do if you won $1 million? Like, think about it, right? Like, if I told you that the message that Jesus is giving supersedes the benefit of winning $1 million, would you be interested in hearing what that message is? All that and more in this video. Make sure that you stick around to the very end because we're going to give away the $1 million checklist. Like, see how those are two completely different things? When you pre-film, that's how you can start your video. When you get up live in a room, you might get stuck into giving the announcement about Aunt Betty's bake sale. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that's not making you a bad communicator or anything. That's part of what it is to be a pastor, to keep people informed and whatever and whatnot. And so make the intros of your video compelling. Now, what if you are live streaming already and you do get the Aunt Betty bake sale stuff? I think that you can drop a 30-second to a minute separate video in front to do that hook stuff. Someone who's already maybe previewed or seen the message, or someone who knows what's going to come, and you drop that in before you drop in the rest of the sermon video. Now, you might be asking, like, well, what about worship? I do think that there's value in actual like live streaming, like on Sunday morning, but once that's over, as far as like posting and indexing to YouTube, I would recommend posting the sermon separately in a separate playlist or a separate video. And when you do that, that's when you can drop that intro video in. Refrain from the habit of what churches are going to be notorious for, which is like pre-filming one and using it every single week to save on time. I would recommend making it custom to what is actually being preached, what is actually being taught, so that the hook, the intro, is actually relevant to what the actual content of the message is, not just a generic, hey, welcome, glad you're on our YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. No one cares about that. That's not interesting. They're swiping away to the next one. What are some other YouTube best practices? Titling really matters. So for the longest time, I was working at a church where we were in different, like, we would call them seasons to do the video thing, which was at least good. But we would just title it like, our show was called Unscripted. So we were titling it Unscripted Season 2, Episode 4, Rubber Ducky Night or whatever it was. And that titling sucked. It didn't help. It wasn't searchable, right? YouTube is built by Google, so YouTube is a search engine type of content. So a title like Is Hell a Real Place? Dealing with crippling anxiety. Or is rest even possible in 2023? You see, all of those are much more captivating titles. And so just a lot of times, you got to think about this, a lot of times churches create a sermon series with a name that's like got some mystery sort of woven into it. Think about the way that pastors communicate. Pastors communicate where they try to hook you in. They try to hook a live studio audience, a live, seated in an auditorium type audience in. But they hold their main point. They hold the ultimate thing that they're going to try and the ultimate truth that they're trying to share till the very end. It's like sort of this like grand reveal. That's a strategy for public speaking. However, think about the videos that you watch online. They tell you instantly right at the top what the video is going to be. They leave some mystery still, yes, some intrigue, but they don't mess around. They don't start out slow with some story about their dog from the night before, whatever it is that pastors are notorious for doing. And I can say this because I'm a pastor. I was trained that way. I lean that way. That's my natural inclination to teach that way. So I'm trying to get better at putting things on the front end as well as titling it. And so, but you'll even see churches like Elevation do this. They'll clip Pastor Stephen's message because he'll preach for a long time. They'll clip it down to that good window, and then they'll retitle it, even if it's different from the sermon series. Because what you got to understand is your sermon series may be a good title for an in-person congregation audience, but that may not index well on YouTube, which is a search platform. So retitling is a helpful thing. The meta description matters. So just like the title, the meta description is pulling out keywords and words that you have in there. It plays a huge role in your rankings. And if you link to things like your church's website or your social media, or maybe even some products or things that you talk about in your video, that also helps. Tags are important. They recommend tags that are included in your video that can relate back to the topic of your video. So all three of those factors, tags, titles, and meta descriptions, help your YouTube search content. Thumbnails. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to put this screenshot right here. Look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails, okay? So he actually spent some time crafting these, creating these. Obviously, he has a team, but you can put more effort into your thumbnails. That is also going to help the clickability and the search rate. Those things matter. Another thing is trends. And you can use a free tool like trends.google.com to look up some more searchable type words. And so you can take some words and start playing with them and see how they rank with searchability and whatever and whatnot. And that's going to help you title it. That might also help you as you're titling it, then putting those words on your thumbnail. And so I'll show a screenshot of what it looks like and how that works. But it's just a pretty basic it's just a basic tool where you can compare the searchability of two different types and styles of words. The last thing is comments and shares. They have a positive corollary effect on your video. So the more that you can encourage and ask for comments and maybe even drum some up is going to be helpful. So those things help with your videos. Also, embedding your videos. If you embed your YouTube video onto, like, say, your church website or something, videos that are embedded, YouTube indexes and rates really well. So those things also help a lot. So what's our conclusion? Well, in conclusion, according to stateofmobile2022.com, users spend 23.7 hours a month using the YouTube app. So people in your church are spending time on YouTube. They may not be spending time on YouTube for the purposes of your church. They may be spending time on YouTube to change out faucets and sinks in their house. But nonetheless, you putting your message on YouTube puts you in a position to be discovered and people to come across your content, because we've been tasked with the mission of spreading and sharing God's word and his message to the ends of the earth. And so this method helps really bring your church's message into a hybrid space. Now, beyond just your Sunday sermons, don't forget there are other options of content. There are some other ideas, there are some other classes, there are some other types of content that you can produce and create. But I would start at a bare minimum. If you're just getting started, I would definitely start getting your regular messages, the things that you're already spending time doing, as opposed to creating another thing or another piece of content, but the things you're already doing in the regular flow and rhythm of your week. Get that stuff created, get that stuff out there for the world to see. Well, hey guys, once again, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you found this helpful. Hey, listen, if you did, it would mean the world to me if you would give us a rating or a review, or even better, share it with a friend. And make sure that if you have not yet, go pick up our free ebook, Have I Already Ruined My Church's TikTok Account? A complete guide to posting a TikTok from scratch. Make sure you grab that. That would be an amazing gift to us. We would love it if you use that and found that helpful in your context, whatever your context might be. And finally, make sure you head over to YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel there. Link is going to be in the show notes because it is under my personal name. It's not under Hybrid Ministry. That is, we're just trying some stuff out. We may convert it. We may not. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not that deep into it yet. Finally, don't forget, every single episode we have transcripts. hybridministry.xyz for that. Excited to be with you on this journey. In our next episode, we are going to be diving into, I believe we're going to be diving into TikTok and talking about that. That's where the inspiration for my ebook came from. So excited to have you in for that. Excited to explain to you and talk to you about the ups and downs and the wide swirling things of the crazy app and platform known as TikTok. But hey, until next time, my friends, we'll talk to you. Stay hybrid.